I'm J.R. Butler, co-founder and CEO of the Shift Group, and you're listening to Merchants of Change. This is a podcast about transferring the skills and behaviors we acquire as athletes and military veterans into becoming a professional salesperson. Each week, we'll introduce you to a top performer who will help us understand how they became professional merchants of change. What is being a sales pro? What does that mean to you, John?
For me, it means being uncommon. It means, and being uncommon is about doing things that the common man or woman chooses not to do. And in sales, the things that I talked about, those fundamental skill sets, those committing yourself to being the very best that you can be. And the formula is really not that hard. It is learning the fundamentals and committing yourself to being uncommonly great with those fundamentals, like any other sport that any of your people have played and that they became elite at. That was the formula, and that's what the formula is now. And it's like putting that together. It's not just understanding what the fundamentals are. It's committing yourself to being uncommonly excellent to those fundamentals. And that's what being an elite professional salesperson, you'll hear people say, student of the game or what have you. It's like, that's why we created Ascender, is I wanted a place where people could go and do that. People would say, okay, John, I get it, but where can I go and do that? What book can I read? And there's lots of books. Johnny McMahon, one of my favorite people on, everybody should read The Qualified Sales Leader. That's a great book to read. And then, okay, so like what else? And so that's why we wanted to create Ascender, to give people a place to go. That's where the pros are going to go. That's where pros are going to be made, in that community. So thanks for allowing me to talk about that, brother.
No, thank you. Thank you for joining us, John. And our alumni will know your voice because I make everybody listen to the Who's Doing This episode.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. That's where Uncommon came from, brother. Who's doing this, JR?
Who's doing this, baby? Who's doing this? Amen. What, in your opinion, does being a professional mean in sales?
Yeah, I think, at its foundation, you have to be really good and diligent with your follow-up, with your time management. But I think all sales reps who make it past that first year have to be fairly decent at that to stay in sales. I think for me, the thing that sets really elite sellers or pro sellers apart from the others is their mentality, because it is a grind and there's going to be ups and downs and ebbs and flows. But if you think about professional athletes, Serena Williams, Tiger Woods, they have to find a way to find the good even when they're having a bad day. And so the elite and pro sellers are the ones that are really making that mental shift to not get really excited about when you're at the top of the mountain, or really sad when you're in a valley, but how do you stay consistent? And it's really, really hard, but I think that that's what ultimately sets pro sellers apart from others.
I think that's the first time we've got that answer, and I think that's a great answer. I don't know why it makes me, because I'm from New England, it makes me think of Tom Brady. Like, he's always in the game. He's always right in the zone, having that mentality. Doesn't matter if it's a Super Bowl or the first week, he's trying to do the same thing.
So what does being a pro in sales mean to you?
Yeah, it's a great question. And again, this goes back to my time for being an athlete. The minute you get any kind of positive or negative feedback, your ability to act on it, regardless of anyone else's inputs, creates an environment where you're a true pro. Like, I know in the NFL, and you probably saw this, professionally as well, you better not make the same mistake twice. Because if you do, they're coming for you. So, a true pro is someone who recognizes that, like, okay, I have this deficiency here, or I am really good at this thing, and I'm going to do whatever I can to either improve it or make it the thing that I'm going to win with. So a true pro in terms of sales is like, okay, from my perspective, I realized that I was very process driven. I'm going to do whatever I can, regardless of any coaching from my coach or any leadership guidance, to make that the very best skill set I have for me to continue to improve day in, day out. And I'm not going to rely on my leadership or my coaches to, make sure that I'm watching webinars or talking to people or looking for ways to grow. I'm going to do it on my own. And again, especially being a professional athlete, like, again, when you get that feedback from your coaches or from player personnel and you're not taking it to heart and trying to improve off of it, you suffer the consequences or you reap the rewards from that. And, being a true pro meant that you had to kind of take ownership of that. And being a salesperson who has the ability to really see everything about themselves and dedicate to what they need to improve or grow on is a true pro in my definition.
Dude, I love that. We've never gotten that answer. It's so true, though, right? The ability to act on inputs quickly. I love that. We want to hear from you. What does being a pro in sales, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, so I think when I think about this, I think about kind of what I was just saying too, but it's about just showing up and knowing what you have to execute, knowing what the goals are, and having steps to take to get there, right? It's not just about achieving the one long-term goal. It's about what are all the little things that I can do every single day to hit the quarterly quota or make the yearly President's Club, like whatever that may be. And it's about knowing every single day what small, medium, or large actions you need to take to get better. Not making excuses. I think that's a huge part of it too. Like I just said, you're not going to hear a professional sports player blaming other things that are somewhat in their control, right? You're going to hear them take ownership and say, hey, I dropped the ball. I messed this up. And I think that's a big piece of it too. And it's just knowing what you have to do and putting your head down and getting gritty. I think grittiness is huge as being a professional. It's about hard work and it's about knowing what has to be done. So I think a lot of people can work hard, but in the wrong direction. And a lot of people know what has to get done, but are too lazy to do it. And if you can cross those paths and combine those two thoughts, you're going to be pretty dangerous.
That's like one of my favorite answers.
A lot of people know the work, but they're too lazy to do it. I couldn't agree more.
100%. Or the kid that's working his butt off on just the wrong things, right?
Yeah.
Totally.
Like effort doesn't always pay off either.
I love it.
Like I could just round that out, Kat, with like I've managed quite a few sales reps and BDRs in my day, and some of the ones that were at the top that I would rank, they had their CRM updated all the time. Like they would do some of the, sometimes in sales, you get these people who are like, they go out there and they do a big deal, but they're real sloppy at how they do the rest of their business. Right. But one guy comes to mind out in Calgary who he used to just have it. Everything was so tight. Even like the nonsensical things, the HR trainings we had to do, he always had them on time. Like he never missed anything. And I was very impressed with that type of rep. It's, the reps out there who close deals, but they're lazy about other things. I don't think you're as professional or a pro as you could be. That's just my take on it.
What does that mean to you? What does it mean being a pro in sales? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, you're not just showing up for the job. You have the business acumen, you have the investment, you have the curiosity that is going to take you so beyond sales because of it that it just makes you better in sales. Right? We're aiming for better lives at the end of the day. Like this is an opportunity to have a career that's going to additionally support your life. And if you show up with that business acumen, that attention to detail and curiosity, like that's what makes you a pro.
100%. Sky's the limit when you bring that to the table, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Porchia, this is going to be required listening for our candidates. This was an unbelievable conversation. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Yeah, no worries. This was fantastic. I really do appreciate it. And to give you guys a little bit of backstory, if I have the moment, is like I reached out to you and just said how you really stood out to me on a podcast that I listened to. And I just, as a former athlete, it was awesome and refreshing to hear a perspective of someone who came from that world, but also has changed their lives with sales. And this was just literally like a prospecting thing. And it was more or less of just saying, thank you for sharing that. I just want to connect with you and follow you. And you're just like, you're awesome. So for folks out there, like I mentioned, shoot your shot. Like this was just mutual connection of me just sharing admiration that turned into me actually having my first podcast experience. So I really do appreciate that opportunity.
So what does being a pro in sales, what does that mean to you?
Man, obviously the easy ones for me are reliability, consistency, showing up every day. When you say pro, I think like the pros that I'm around, you go and visit an NFL weight room, those dudes are in there. They take a beating at the games. But you got to show up, even though you don't feel too good. But when I think about being a pro, and especially what I've experienced in sales so far, is like and this has a lot less to do with talent or skill, I guess. It probably has more to do with like awareness and determination. It's the people that I've come to meet and I respect the most. They care about what happens after the sale. They care about the deal, obviously, and like, let's get this thing closed. But they're also thinking about and talking about, and in my experience, people that I'm drawn to, they're talking about how that sale and how that deal is going to impact all parties concerned after the fact. And with our company, one of the things I love is like, we call it cradle to the grave. We don't just sell a project or a room and then we're out the door on to the next one. Like, you got an issue down the road, it's me that shows up to deal with it. And I love that piece of it because I've been on the other side of it. And it's not a great feeling when you got to get some support, some assistance back in. And, it's hard to get somebody on the phone and it's hard to get some help. So I think pros care about what happens after the sale. And I can tell you for me personally, man, how I want to go about this thing is I know you can win and lose. Like, you're going to win sales. I'm not going to win them all. You can't win them all. So you're going to win some sales. You're going to lose some sales, some deals. But I think the ultimate professionals that I've gotten to be around so far, they're going to win and they're going to lose. But even on the sales that they lost, they're going to walk away with a strengthened relationship. Yep. And that's been like in the front of my mind since the moment I shifted over here was, I'm going to go do this job. And I may not be great at it. I'm going to give it my all. But even on the ones that I lose, I'm going to walk away with a stronger relationship because that might turn into the next sale.
Yeah.
So that's what I think, professionalism is for me in this world.
That might be my favorite answer. My hashtag, all gas, no brakes. When I say there's a couple meanings to it, but the gas means give a shit, right? And that's what you're talking about. Like, if you go in to a company or an organization and you give a shit about the outcomes that your solution can drive, the problems that you can solve for them, and what that means for their business, which in the case of colleges and professional teams is better performance on the field, better ticket sales, better revenue, like that alone, you'll figure out the right things to do in the process, right? Because you really do care. So that might be my favorite answer ever, dude. What does being a pro in sales, what does that mean to you?
Are you the first person they call when they need something?
Love that.
I mean, it takes, you're not going to get that day one. Hell, it's taken me almost 2 years to get to the point where I'm doing right now, but it was beating down the door enough times. And even, this is so much related to your previous question, what makes you elite? It's when I get to the point where I'm the first person they think of when they say, I need insert whatever product. I carry a lot of products in our bag. We have about 40 different lines that we sell in our company. Like, we're not a one company, one product. So I'm very unique in what we sell. I mean, I think we have like 40,000 products in our bag that we have access to. But so when the people that I work with, when I'm the first person they think of, that to me is what leads to a pro. When you build up so much trust. So, but yeah, I'll probably answer it that way. It's trust. It's trust. I'm working on a project right now where there's a difference of a $58,000 sale and a $75,000 sale, and I'm trying to convince them to go 75. Obviously, it's my job, but I was straight up honest with him, man. I was like, look, here's quote number one. Here's quote number two. This one's at least is less expensive. It's going to be good. It's still a great product. This one's better, and I'm going to explain to you why it's better to spend the money right now. And at the end of my pitch, it goes, I trust you, and just go ahead and put it in for the $75,000 one. Like, I was the idiot for even trying to convince him. He was like, yeah, man, obviously, just do it on, put it on there. We'll spend the money. And I was like, well, do you want to hear? He's like, I don't need to hear the rest of it. So,
that's earned.
Enough trust where they will, one, let you come in their office and talk to them, but two, where they can say, hey, look, I trust you. I know you're not screwing me. I know you're only bringing me quality products. And I know that I have a single point of contact if I have anything go wrong. That's what I pride myself on. I won't say I'm a pro. And I think any pro who says they're a pro,
thinks that they've reached the pinnacle of the career, man, there's always something more you can do. There's always something better you can achieve. You can always be better.
100%. I love it. Talk a little bit, like, what does being a pro in this industry, what does it mean to you?
I'm going to give you another buzzword, which is when I think of a sales pro, I think of extreme ownership. They own their stuff every single day. They're not walking into the day and saying, oh, what am I doing today? They have a plan that they're going into the day, into the week with. When they're a rep and they're closing deals, they know their deals inside and out. They know their deals companies and the business behind it inside and out. They know their internal champions inside and out. They know, hey, I'm running into this issue. I'm going to tag in JR because I think JR and this person are going to align. Like, it's just, it's a little bit hard to put into words, but that's how I think about it for my reps.
Just own it.
Yeah.
I get it. I think it's an awesome answer because it's like, it's all the things you talked about, but it's also extreme ownership of your own development, extreme ownership of understanding and self-awareness of your weaknesses and your own strengths, and extreme ownership of, like, you know, realizing that it's not just you selling the customer. It's your job to surround the whole company with the customer, right? We used to always talk about how as a sales rep, everybody works for you from the CEO down, right? And having the ownership and ability to do that is what makes the pros the pros. And I think that's the highest praise you can give a salesperson, is calling them a pro. I want to know from your end, what does being a pro in sales mean to you?
This is my saying. So if anyone's worked for me, and I'm hoping they're all listening to our conversation, they've heard me say it, right? It's control your controllables. That's your effort, attitude, and energy, right? Like, only you can control the effort that you put in, the energy and the attitude that you bring to every day. So if you're committed to being 1% better, I think you put yourself in a hell of a spot to win every situation that you're in. But I think with that, it comes you being diligent, comes you being confident, comes you being eager, excited to learn, passionate about the situations and the opportunities in front of you, and accepting of your failures and your shortcomings, and willing to actually embark on a journey to get better at it.
We're going to have a hard time naming this episode, buddy. Control the controllables, effort, attitude, and energy. I mean, dude, I'm like ready to run through a wall right now. I love it. I can't agree more. And that, like, shows up, dude, right? Your effort, attitude, and energy is obvious, but the controlling the controllables, it's like you might not have a great meeting, but you can control how you go into that meeting from a preparation. That's like a perfect example that ties in everything you've talked about. I love it, dude. What does being a pro mean to you in sales?
I think it's this constant pursuit of excellence. I think it's easy for different milestones to happen and think you've made it. And then there's a bunch of other people there that are chasing you down, whether it's against sports or in sales. There's always talent that's being developed. So, constantly, although, yes, you hit milestones, it can get easy for people to get a little complacent. It's constantly this pursuit of excellence. And I think from there's a level of consistency and repeatability. Some of the best sellers out there are the ones that you know what you're going to get from them week over week, month over month, quarter over quarter, year over year, right? Just doing what is necessary and what's required. And those skills are going to change over time, and the product's going to change over time. But your commitment, your effort, like all those things that you put into it, when I think about the best sellers out there, they're the ones that are in the pursuit of excellence constantly. They're the ones that are performing in a consistent and repeatable way. From there, I think the final piece that the pros are doing is they're finding ways to fine tune, right? Really fine tune and hone their craft. I think that sales, there's a level of craft that's involved with it. When you think about the difference between, playing, Pee-wee, junior level, middle school, high school, from the pros, it's the very, very fine tuning. It's the pace at which we're operating. It's the speed, it's the accuracy. So everything is that much closer to excellent, that much closer to perfection. I don't think that perfection is ever fully achieved, but it's, that's the difference. The game of basketball, whether you're playing in 5th grade or you're playing in the NBA, it's the same game with the same rules. Just the the excellence and the consistency and the fine tuning that happens at that pro level is really the major differentiator.
I love it. That's one of my favorite answers we've ever gotten. The consistency I love that. And what is being a pro in sales? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, man. So it's interesting. The sales industry, all the cliches, I would say they're probably they're accurate, at least what I've found, right? A lot of times with some nuanced differences there. The pros that I see are not thinking quarter to quarter. They're thinking long-term, relationship building. And so when I see somebody that is committed a lot of time and effort in something that will pay off a year from now or even 2 years from now, because they have a stable run rate business, in order to meet their metrics and immediate requirements, like those people are impressive to me.
Yeah, I love that. We haven't got that answer, but that might be one of my favorites because it's so true, right? And you need. It's a function of your ability to run your business on a quarter. You still have to run your business on a quarter-to-quarter basis to get to that long term.
For you, what are the things that you meet a sales rep or you have a sales rep that works for you? What makes them a sales professional? What makes them a pro?
Yeah, I think the first thing is they know their brief, as Billy Scanlon used to say. They know what they're talking about. They are dedicated to become an expert in that field, the subject matter expert, whatever you want to call them, but they know what they're doing, right? They play at the top of the game, no matter what the sport is, the instrument they play, or the job they have. I think the second thing is, and I'd go back to it, is just leading by example. You can just see behind every professional or somebody that I would call a professional, they lead by example. There's a group of people behind them that is learning from that individual, right? That next level of leadership, that next level of individual contributor, they're the ones that are wanting to go to dinner with the Adam Graves or Brian Marchments of the world. And they're learning from those individuals. So the influence is there. They're making a big influence. So I think they play at the top of the game. They lead by example, and you can see the force multiplier in the influence they have in an organization. That, to me, is a pro.
I just would love to hear in your words, like, what does being a pro in this industry mean to you?
I think it's a three things. I think it is that like being genuinely curious, like that's always one of our top things. It's a natural, like skill to have. And that is really what makes a salesperson a pro, paired with like being customer first. That's always what we say too. So putting the customer first, that's a huge thing. And you'll just naturally like get better at sales. And that is what makes you a pro. And then thirdly, which is my most important, if you just have this in itself, like I would consider you a pro, is like sales is all about performance, hitting your number, overperforming. But for me, the pros are the ones who do that naturally, but then also make they elevate the performance of those around them. Just by always they're always being curious and learning, but then they're applying that to their peers. And I'm just thinking of like a few specific examples of people at my company right now, like those people that I consider pros and the qualities that they show every single day. And that's really what it is. Like they're always trying to make our company better, make the industry better by using everything they've learned from being genuinely curious and sharing it with everyone else. So everyone gets better.
So awesome. Great answer. I love that. What defines a pro in the sales industry for you, Zoltan? And this is a final question.
Yeah. So a pro to me is someone that shows up every day, regardless of how they feel, right? As athletes, like many times, we played a little bit sore or whatnot, or in pain, not injury, right? But in pain. And as soon as you get warmed up, right? Like even if you're sore, like, oh, I don't know if I should squat today, but just take it light. Just have a non-zero day.
Yeah.
Like it's about like not regressing. And I feel like that it's easier said than done, but showing up every day. And funny enough, selling, like a lot of people are like, what are the secrets of sales? It's like literally go see the customer or like call, because sometimes this thing just falls into your lap. It's like, all I needed to do was get off the couch. And lo and behold, I met my wife or whatever, right? Like, you're not going to meet someone like sitting on the couch.
What does being a pro mean to you?
So maybe you'll be surprised by this, JR, but I am a good listener, and I learn from everybody. And one of the biggest things I think I learned from you at my time when we were at Turbo is customers for life, right? CFLs. And that's a metric that probably not a lot of companies track, but I've never let go of it since it came out your mouth and hit my ears. And I'll tell you, when you look at somebody, over the course of time, there's a lot that goes into a real professional, right? A lot of it has to do with how successful they are and how consistent they are at hitting their number and doing their job. But in some ways, for the people that are really pros, that's table stakes, right? So what's more than that? What's more than that is they're also people that open themselves up and are willing to help people around them, because people like that who are wildly successful, but also open to help are the people that attract the most people, right? People want to be around people like that. When you think about the world of sports, in my lifetime, and I was a little too young to remember Bobby Orr. I mean, I've seen the videos and all, but like Bobby Orr was on his way out when I was a little kid. So I really didn't appreciate it then. But in my lifetime, when I look at a guy like Patrice Bergeron, 5-time Selke winner, he's won the Stanley Cup, should have won more, but whatever. At the end of the day, when you hear that guy talk and you watch him, he's a true gentleman. He is like the ultimate human being. Forget about hockey for a second. And there's an element of just doing the right thing when nobody's looking, holding the door for the woman behind you. Just it's people that are always looking to make a positive, difference. It's the whole kind of pay it forward mentality. Another buddy of mine that I started my sales career next to this guy, Keith Cody, who's been at Akamai for 22 years. But when we were getting the sales bug and we would, the lights were coming on and we would spitball till 9 at night about, oh my God, we'd come up with all these crazy ideas. We were like 23, 24. And one of the things he used to always talk about was the effort savings bank. It's like, you got to always find an opportunity to make deposits. You got to put in the effort, like all the little things, not just, about deals and deal progression and cold calls, but like opportunities to mentor people, to join the sales and marketing executives of New England, to maybe go get your MBA, whatever those things were. You're making deposits everywhere you can with all the right intentions, because we all need to make withdrawals. And when you need to make withdrawals, there's either something there for you or you're bankrupt in a way, right? So the idea is you train yourself to do the good things, to do all the right things. It's beyond the game, right? It's about how you carry yourself. And I'll tell you, the true professionals, and I'm recruiting one right now for my new company, are the people that have relationships with their customers where they're texting all the time. Not because there's a deal in play, because you're just staying in touch with people that you've built a friendship with. That is a professional. Oh, you're calling on what company? I know Jerry. Hold on a second. Bing, 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 bing. Like, to me, I was always in awe of those people, because not only were they always at President's Club receiving an award, but like, how is that? And it is because getting a customer is one thing. Keeping them is another thing. And to me, that just takes more effort, more everything. But the ones that do it, they're always employed and they're always making a lot of money and they're always loving life. So that's how I would view that.
That's awesome. CFLs, baby. Love that.
This wraps up this episode of Merchants of Change. If you enjoyed this episode, the most meaningful way to say thanks is to submit a review wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're interested in working with us, please come find us at www.shiftgroup.io.